And thank you so much for tuning in to Morning Live. Now, calls are growing for the suspension of eThekwini Mayor Zandile Gumede. And the mayor has been granted bail of 50,000 rand in the Durban Commercial Crimes Court. She appeared in the court yesterday and was granted that bail. Gumede stands accused of racketeering, corruption and money laundering relating to more than 200 million rand tender. Now, the mayor will be back in court on the 8th of August this year. But joining us now from our studios in Durban is Xolani Dube, political analyst at the Xubera Institute for Research and Development, to unpack what is actually going on here. Xolani, good morning. Thanks so much for speaking to us here on Morning Live.
Morning, Sakina, as well as to the viewers.
So let's start off by taking a look at the timing, which has become a topic of discussion around this matter. The mayor, Zandile Gumede, known to be a staunch ally of former President Jacob Zuma. So looking at the timing of this arrest and taking into consideration that investigations had already started last year, and now we see this arrest happening so soon after the elections, is there something untoward, something that we could read into the timing of this?
Sakina, the timing for us is immaterial. The most important thing is her act, if her act contravenes the laws of this country or not. Because when we are going to really occupy ourselves with the issue of timing, we might try to justify or not to justify what is happening currently. And so for us, we need to celebrate that it seems as if the law for our country is starting to bite. And so even her as a representative of our hopes in that particular institution, she must account. We must not entertain the issue of timing, because as I've said, once we say timing and then we are trying to politicize this kind of an act from the law authorities.
And then, of course, this is being viewed as part of that cleanup that President Cyril Ramaphosa had promised. And with that in mind, I mean, what do you make of that, first and foremost, these law enforcement authorities that were so ineffective for the longest time, who suddenly seem to have found their voice and their rhythm?
The most important thing that we have to pray for is that is not because Zandile Gumede's faction currently is at the receiving end. Hence, we see this law enforcement start to act now. If it is the law enforcement are acting at the behest of a strong faction currently, I think it will be another sad story or another sad reality for South Africa. And so let's wait and see for now what are really the reason for these law enforcement authorities to be so proactive. But Sakina, another very sad reality is the fact that we see this kind of act not happening where most of South Africans have raised their hands to say there is a rot in that particular institution, and then you find that the person that they always point out as the perpetrator of that particular rot, you might find him or her being aligned with a strong faction at a certain time when that faction is becoming weak, and then you find the law enforcement officers start to act. And so let's hope that the law enforcement officers are not going to be entangled in the strong faction currently that some of people are saying is of Babu Cyril Ramaphosa.
And of course, Xolani, there's also this perception that given the balance of forces within the ANC, that President Cyril Ramaphosa is seeking legal solutions to political problems. So what's your take on that, given what is happening in the ANC, given what still needs to happen, where the president needs to appoint a cabinet? And as we read, as we hear, people are saying they want that cabinet free of certain elements whom they believe to be tainted.
Look, when someone is stealing from the citizens' resources, there is nothing political about that. And if there is evidence that this person is stealing from our for the next generation. There is nothing political about that. It's only about the thief that is stealing from our resources, and so the thief must face the might of the law, because as I'm saying, we have to move away from trying to politicize stealing, because this kind of act, as Sakina, to be quite honest, we as South African, we have to say stealing in South Africa is not different from treason, because you are destroying the future of this generation. And if we don't come out strong as citizens in relation to stealing, I think the ANC amongst themselves, they will always politicize this kind of act. And then as a citizen, we might be following those kind of narrative to say this is a political plot. Whereas some of us, we are witnessing day out, day in, the pillaging of our resources in these municipalities.
Xolani, I think you are spot on there with regard to people who steal from the public purse that need to be dealt with. The question then becomes, though, who is not stealing? And amongst those who are alleged to have stolen, who have been implicated and perhaps not yet found guilty, but where there is strong indication of wrongdoing, how then do we then go about deciding which ones to go for first? Which ill is greater than the next?
I think what you are saying, Sakina, is really spot on. I think South Africa is suffering what we call it the pitfalls of national consciousness. And maybe we can now confirm that the beautiful ones are not yet born. Why I am saying that is that since 1994, if we really look at the leadership that took over from apartheid, because we can't compare a democratic state with an apartheid state. We can only judge ANC from how they've been ruling us post-apartheid. Really, is a sad story where we hope that those who claim to be our liberators will be our protectors, will be our torchbearers to a promised land where corruption, we as South African will frown upon when someone is doing such kind of acts. But unfortunately, it seems as if we have a hopeless we have a hope that is not going to be fulfilled, because the same guys that we thought that will be our protectors, it seems as if they are the ones who are letting us down each and every day. And so in a den of thieves, I don't think that we will really have any solution yet, except us as South Africans to strengthen the civil society, to make sure that those whom we entrust with our hopes can also be under the supervision of us as South Africans. Because if we simply give them kind of a free act in our resources, definitely they will do whatever they want. And another thing, Sakina, is that there is no merit on how this leadership of ANC are being appointed to this position of responsibilities. And so if you appoint someone who's got there are no merits, and so definitely we are going to face such kind of situations.
Now, Xolani, Zandile Gumede is reportedly implicated in a number of reports. Let's talk about that.
You know, I think is a sad reality, or I can say is a sad when it comes to the narrative or to the discourse of women in our society in relation to the leadership. Because I thought that she is going to be the shining light when it comes to women being in the leadership position, because in this municipality, she's the first mayor, a first female mayor, and also she is the first female chairperson of the ANC in this region. I think to a certain extent, all these allegations that are surrounding her are not auguring very well to the notion that South Africa really needs women in order to move itself or to rescue itself from this sinkhole of leadership. And so now we can say women and men, when it comes to the leadership position, there is no difference.
Well, I'm not sure I agree, but I don't want to belabor that point necessarily. One woman, how many men, Xolani? But that's a discussion you and I could have on another day. But sticking with Zandile Gumede and what's happening in eThekwini. Now, according to reports, Gumede and Councillor Mondli Mthembu, they allegedly orchestrated a protest in March to call for the removal of the city manager because he refused to sign off on a payment on an illegal tender. So how much do you know about that, and what has since happened to the city manager there?
Look, Sakina, the fact of the matter is the city manager is the accounting officer, and we citizens, when it comes to the administration of the municipality, Baba Usiponzuza, he is the last person that is supposed to protect us when it comes to the administrative issues. But it seems as if he is also weak, you get what I mean? Because if the mayor can simply bulldoze him like this, I don't think that we have a strong and a proper city manager. And so I think the executive in our municipalities really must try to review the kind of a city manager that we have. Because if you are strong, you are supposed to move out of this circle and say, I, as Siponzuza, someone who's accountable to this municipality and to the citizens of eThekwini, this is the rot that is happening. He was not supposed to be quiet. And so for him to be quiet, it really begs a lot of question in terms of his integrity as well.
Well, Xolani, we're going to have to leave it there, unfortunately, because there's still so much to talk about. The mayor's personal assistant was taken in earlier this year as well for questioning allegedly around political killings and those sort of questions. But of course, we're out of time on this one. But thanks so much to Xolani Dube, political analyst at the Xubera Institute for Research and Development. We're going to take a break. On the other side of that, Leanne will have your latest news bulletin.